In the fall of 2019, we recorded our first live album. And I remember two things so clearly about that project. One was a sense that God was doing a new thing in the life of our church. There was a sense of expectation that God was moving and that we were all a part of it. And secondly, I remember so vividly sitting around this big table at the end of that night, surrounded by all the people who had helped make that album possible. And it was like a glimpse of heaven, eating and laughing together, celebrating all that God had been doing in our midst. And then, just a few months later, it all stopped.
Now to growing concerns about the deadly coronavirus officially hitting the U.S.
The first confirmed U.S. case of the contagious coronavirus now in Washington state.
All of that momentum gone. That deep feeling of togetherness and community gone. That sense of the new work that God was doing in our church gone. I remember the early days of the pandemic with our small team of people preparing to record for online church, being on our knees in this empty church building, crying out to God. This place where there had been so much vibrancy and life and joy in the Spirit, empty and silent. 9 months without gathering in person, the most isolating, polarizing, and divisive year that any of us had ever lived through. And our church was changing, being reduced to just a fraction of what it was before the pandemic. As we came back together in person, it felt like all that God had done was just a distant memory. The fire that had once burned so brightly had nearly been reduced to ashes. Last summer, our team gathered in a home for a time of prayer and worship. And during a moment of silence, there was this clicking sound that was in the background that really grabbed our attention. It was the sound of a ceiling fan clicking above us. And during that moment, we sensed that it was a prophetic image for what God was doing in our church. He wanted our attention. As all the noise died down, and we simply returned to seeking His face, He began to cut through all of the chaos and confusion of the last 2 years, cutting through the division, the deconstruction, and the pain we all experienced through the pandemic. It was a gentle and yet clear reminder God was still moving, He was still working, and His Spirit was still here. And He is not done with us. He is not done with our church, and there's still a new song to be sung. And just like the clicking of that fan, the past 2 years felt like a noisy disruption, but it was through that God was getting our attention. You can take away all the lights, take away the sound, you can even take away the building itself, but the church has always been a people shaped and formed by the Spirit of God. He was reminding us of how this whole thing was meant to work from the beginning. So we decided to hit record on what God is doing here in our church. And this album means a lot to us because it's more than just new songs for us to sing. It symbolizes a resilient faith, a community rising up from the ashes of the past 2 years together. And it reveals a heart of worship that has been purified through trial and has come through on the other side, still singing. It represents a people of defiant praise who say that our God is still good and He is still faithful, and no matter what comes, He'll see us through.